You want me to show you tough? I'll show you tough. Hey! 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 Good.
Self-defense means meeting violence with violence.
Alright guys, today I want to talk about tripod passing and how it can help round out your game. Tripod passing's been around for a while. You can see it in matches, as well as instructionals. However, no one has made it their main staple like the young phenom Jozef Chen. Who is Jozef Chen? Prodigy? Savant? Sweatshop worker / Chinese spy? No one really knows. But what we do know is this dude is a killer. He burst onto the scene beating likes of Mateusz Szczynski, Tommy Langacker, Big Breakfast, and even winning ADCC European trials. I want to show you guys this unorthodox way to pass, but in order to get the bigger picture, we're going to have to take a step back. Passing the guard basically has two routes: going around your partner or going through them. Now, going around the legs will look something like a toreando.
Quickly misdirect the legs to the outside. Now his knees are very disconnected from his chest, and it becomes a lot easier.
Going through could be a smash pass or forcing half guard. Passing on the outside requires you to pass the legs and then pin the shoulders. Passing from half guard has you pin the shoulders first and then pass the legs. This is where tripod passing takes place. What I want to do here is break this down into two main sections: double butterfly hooks and butterfly half. Now, some things need to be noted. First, these won't be linear. You may start in half butterfly, but then they may scramble and you'll end up in double butterfly or vice versa. Second, it's important to remember that using other passing methods will help set these up. An example would be a toreando, and then when they start to re-guard, you get into butterfly half. Double butterfly hooks are probably going to be the most difficult in my opinion. This is due to both hooks being able to carry and manipulate weight.
In a situation where he has two butterfly hooks, the positioning is a little bit more nuanced because either side I move, there's a strong butterfly hook to follow.
The first thing we need to go over is what this will look like. We'll preferably have an underhook on one side and a cross head post on the other. You'll need to balance on the top of your head, not your forehead. This is going to save your neck some really unnecessary damage. Now picture an imaginary line at the hips. You'll need to bring your feet as close to that line as possible. This will keep your hips elevated and take away power from the hooks. Your free hand is going to post either on the mat or on their knee. This will help you maintain and prevent being put into closed guard. Make sure to keep your knee and elbow close together. Keep one leg off the mat so you can keep the legs bundled close together, and it makes it easier to pummel over the knee.
To actually just push down the legs, pummel out.
Now, I know what you're thinking. That's cool, but how do I even get there? I'll give you 3 examples. When your opponent uses shin on shin, you can separate the knee and elbow as you punch an underhook and enter.
And by putting weight onto his hands, so he doesn't want to concede to a supine guard, notice how once he posts his hands, now there's separation between his elbow and his ribs. And So that's going to present to me a very good opportunity to start looking to shoot an underhook, get head to head, and finish shoulders to the mat.
Here's one example of Jozef hitting it from a half guard camp.
This is going to create a situation where I'm able to drop my knee, my outside knee, into the pocket of his hip. At the same time, I'm going to look to flatten his hip and open my right knee. So notice how my knees switch. I'm going to switch my knees. And what this is going to create is a situation where I beat one knee and I encourage him to take a butterfly hook on the other side. So if we look at this again, he's framing. I play with this hand on the inside, flare, and I switch my knees, and I'm going to drive my head to the far side of his head. So if I have an underhook on my left side, my head's on the right. So I'm going to go here. And
here's an example of Jozef wrestling up against Andy Varela.
Chen chases Varela once more, comes back to his feet here, quick guard pull, tries to get the hook in, and he wrestles up nicely. Can he keep top position? Yes, he does.
Really nice. Now we're going to see some of that patented Jozef Chen.
Okay, I'm going to go on a little detour here. When dealing with someone that is very explosive and doesn't want to stay on their back, we use, as Dima calls it, a high body lock. This will make it much more difficult for him to use his arms and create momentum. The downside is you're locked in and less mobile. With the high body lock, everything is pretty much the same as our standard tripod passing here. The only difference is we're going to have our hands connected together with an over-under grip. This is going to be placed in the back of their spine, kind of in between their shoulder blades. The configuration is going to stay the same. We're still going to have our head post on one side, our underhook on the other. We're going to try and get our knees and our elbows pinched as close as possible together. And we're going to try and keep our foot as close to the belt line as we can. This will keep our hips elevated and take away the power from the butterfly hooks that we talked about before. To finish our pass from here, we have a few options. By using hip switches or leg pummeling, we can get into either side control or mount. Here, Jozef uses a high knee pummel against Andy's butterfly hooks. This faces his hips away and allows Jozef to pass to side control. This is one of my favorite concepts shown by Jozef, in which he turns frames into levers.
I'm going to look to bring knee to knee to try directly affect his femur and access it as a lever and bring it across his hips. If I manage to do so, this is great. I have an underhook, I've pinned his upper body, and I've managed to pass the legs.
Here he attempts the same thing against Elijah Dorsey, eventually securing mount.
To actually just push down the legs, pummel that out.
I couldn't find any live footage of this, but here we have Jozef showing some leg pummels using an ankle connection instead of a knee.
However, you can anticipate resistance against a good opponent. So as I look to go knee to knee and bring things across, he flares me open. And what I'm going to look to do is, instead of connecting to him via our knees, I'm going to look to open up my right hip and connect via the ankles. What this enables me to do, it enables me to pummel my knee in and start looking to get inside position at his knee and hip. And I can choose to go to a straight hip or a cross hip. Generally, depending on the situation, a cross hip is going to be more conducive to quick passes, whereas a straight hip is going to be more conducive to controlling and then slowly working towards the pass.
So, to sum up part 1, we have two main phases of the tripod pass. We have double hooks and butterfly half. From double hooks, we will have a single underhook post, cross head post, a free hand to monitor the knee, have our knee and elbow close together, our foot close to the hip line, high hips to take away power, and one leg off the mat, which will be our pummel leg. And for the high body lock, we'll have the same as the standard, except our hands will be connected behind the shoulder blades, usually with over-unders. This is the first time making a long form video, so any feedback you guys have would be greatly appreciated. I want to end this video by saying thanks to Jake from Less Impressed More Involved for giving me so much advice on this and building the outlier database. 99% of the clips I used are from there, and it made it so easy to get all this stuff together. Whether you're making content or just studying, Outlier Database makes it super easy. Use the code PDavisBJJ to get 50% off your first month. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for part 2.